Okay, welcome back to the Purr podcast. This will be episode 4. I don't know what the date is. Oh, it's November 1st!
It's the first time.
And so we have a council here today, I guess, to talk with you, but just wanted to preface by saying that no opinions expressed by anyone here today reflect Lewiston High School or the Bengals Purr in any way. Now, with that out of the way, let's introduce everyone. So obviously, you know me, McKinley, and my other host.
Hi, I'm Lainey. You know me.
But we have 2 other people here today. So we have our producer who's always in the background.
/ editor. I'm Karah. I'm the managing editor. I'm an icon. I'm a legend. I am the moment.
And then we have...
I'm Jerrick. I am the co-editor-in-chief, and I'm not an icon.
Oh,
That's your job.
My icon, Jerrick.
Karah's resident job here is icon.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's my official title.
Official job title is icon.
And then the second title is managing editor, and the 5th one is features assistant, and then the 6th one is entertainment editor. I have
I love how Karah always has so much on her plate. It's kind of iconic, but she's still here.
I'm eating it up though.
You are. You're gobbling all of that work down. So as we stated, today is November 1st. So you know what happened yesterday?
Halloween.
Ooh, I think that was spooky, guys. Okay, so how was everyone's Halloween? So I feel like we need to do a life update, which this is just a yap session.
Me and McKinley had the most iconic Halloween, but we'll wait for you guys to share your boring Halloween stories.
Okay.
So that ours look even better.
I have 5 words to say.
Okay, do it in 5 words, bet. I'm counting.
Countdown.
I went trick-or-treating.
Oh.
No. Okay. Yeah, Jerrick, go 5 words.
Church, Halloween, trunk or treat. That's 1 because it's hyphenated.
Oh, yeah, true. Got him.
Bounce house.
Was that how?
Tired.
Oh, Halloween. Karah and Ben Wayne got these epic Halloween costumes for.
Yeah, so the lore is me and this one mysterious friend whose name will remain anonymous for no reason because he said he's fine with us saying his name. But anyway, basically, we were planning on having I guess it was supposed to be me and you.
Yeah, because he couldn't come.
But then last minute, classic bleep.
Classic Ben, literally classic Ben, shows up to Halloween last minute like he did last year. No, because that's what happened last Halloween too, where I genuinely had to convince him though, because I remember I was because he thought he was working, because we were actually planning something and he was excited for it, but then he had to work that night and then it got canceled because it's Halloween. And so he didn't have to work, but he was I'm really tired, and I literally begged him to go, and then afterwards he was actually that was pretty fun. And I'm I literally know he's gonna have fun on Halloween. It's just that you have to stay up late, and it's kind of it's at the end of the day, so it's you're already kind of tired and I'm done.
As legend has it, we went to Square Halloween and got 3 bald caps. And then we went to Home Depot. We got paint coveralls and these goggles, and then those latex gloves. And we got a sponge for McKinley. And our costumes were this. We had Mr. Worldwide, which was Bleep.
And Bleep was Mr. Worldwide 305.
He wore a suit.
Yeah.
And did a little soul
He had a
patch.
microphone. Yeah, and then you guys did mascara.
Microphone.
You had facial hair, but out of mascara on your face. It was great.
Mm-hmm. And then McKinley was Mr. Clean, so she had a white clothes.
Yeah, I just wore all white, and I was bald, and I had a sponge and 1 earring in, because
a gold earring.
1 gold earring.
Because Mr.
Clean is
Mr. Clean is a rebel like that. He's not like the other cleaning bros. Anyway,
He's hot.
Whoa! It's giving. Hear me out, cake.
Hear me out. No, I'm
cake.
It's me as Mr. Clean.
That's what we did for the Purr.
Per TikTok, hear me out cake. Oh, we have to.
We need to do a smash cake on the Purr. Hear me out.
We could do it for articles. We could do the Queen coming back to life. That's my smash article.
Oh my gosh, we could do that. That's actually really good.
Okay, I'll put it on the social media list.
Anyway, so then I was Walter White, so I had paint coveralls and goggles and a little goatee. It was awesome.
And we were all bald.
And my bald cap was the best.
Yeah.
Jerrick, would you like to talk about your article?
So, my article was really good. It's an opinion. It's about why
I've done way better.
Why print books are superior to ebooks, and I believe everyone in this room right now is readers.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Karah knows how to read.
I'm illiterate, actually.
She's an illiterate, unlike me.
I know the best host of this podcast, McKinley, loves to read.
You did not
I
say
love
the
to
best
read.
host. I'm the
I
best
didn't know
producer,
that.
though. I'll give myself that.
Because I know McKinley goes to Spokane a lot just for the Barnes and Nobles.
No, seriously, every time I'm in Spokane for my brother's hockey tournaments, Barnes and Noble.
Obviously, it's my opinion article, so if you want to know my opinion,
Read the article
Read
at
the article,
thebengalspur.com.
I'd like to hear your guys' opinion on it. If ebooks are better than print books or vice versa.
I think print books are better because, like, personally, I'm like a freaky little dragon. I like
Real.
I like.
Are we okay?
Yeah, I'm a completionist, and I like having the physical books in my bookshelf. Screens hurt my eyes. Screens hurt my eyes
That is
when I
true.
read on them, and I really like. I just like having the book,
Yeah.
and I feel like a lot of people are like, "Oh, but it's so much more like sustainable to read them online." But it's not the same experience.
And also, the authors don't get paid as much if it's an ebook.
Yeah.
So
I like
read
just-
the article.
No, I actually did a project about this. In speech, I had to like compare like an invention to another invention, and honestly, I don't like ebooks. Like, I get why they can be helpful for a lot of people with disabilities and such, but I just don't think they're the best option. I also don't think audiobooks are real reading. So
No, it's listening.
I think audiobooks
It's
are
like a
good.
podcast.
I think audiobooks can be good in like certain circumstances. Like if I'm busy, I'll listen to an audiobook. I don't, but I would. Like
yeah.
Okay, but can I say this? I hate reader elitists who think like if you listen to an audiobook, then that's not real reading and you're not a reader or like whatever. It's like I feel like
It's
if
not-
you're reading, it's not like
it's
it's,
not
like it's not like I mean, not that it's not an accomplishment, but it's not like a club that you know get summoned into. That
I don't think listening it doesn't have the same effects as reading.
it's not reading.
So people, it's genuinely not
technically not reading,
It's
but I feel like
and so when people are like, oh yeah, like I read this many books a year, and I'm like, oh, like how do you read it? And they're like, oh, I listen to them. I'm like, no, that's like I've watched like 10 million YouTube videos a year. That doesn't mean I like
make them.
it's not like the same
Yeah.
thing. You know, it's the exact same thing as like listening to a YouTube video, pretty much,
Or like a podcast.
or listening to us, which I'm not
but
against
isn't the
them.
point of reading to the substance and not the medium?
It is, but reading and listening to something stimulates different things in your brain.
Yeah, so it's genuinely like not
Okay, well,
biologically.
what if you can't
Biologically, it's not
see?
the same
Okay,
experience.
but that's different. That's one of those scenarios where it is different. Like,
And it is good to be accessible, but it doesn't stimulate the same part of your brain, so it's like biologically not.
that's
the same
only like
thing.
if
We're
you're
like talking from our viewpoints. You know what I mean? And I mean, if you can't afford the physical book, there's nothing wrong with buying the cheaper
yeah,
ebook.
I'm not saying
I'm
I'm not
like-
saying that like anything's worse than anything
Yeah.
else, but again, listening is not reading.
But no, I mean, if you can afford a physical book, I would recommend it.
I'm just saying for me, as someone who doesn't read a lot, if I had a Kindle, I'd probably read more. And so I'm saying like those things make reading more accessible.
Yeah, I think our point is that
I'm not
it
saying-
genuinely isn't.
I'm not
reading.
saying
like we were making the point that we weren't saying that it wasn't like good. We were just saying like factually listening isn't reading. I think is what we were trying to say.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that like digital books aren't reading either. That's reading. It's just a different experience.
Well, I think maybe I think the difference is for you guys, maybe reading is about like the process of reading. And for me, reading is about like the substance of the book. And so for me, it's like, oh, I don't care if I'm listening or reading this book. Like same, like teachers, like when they have you write book reports or like read like the required books, it's like they don't care if you're listening to an audiobook because the substance matters. But I feel like for you guys, maybe reading is about the actual process of
and then like in like elementary school,
self-care and stuff.
when your teacher assigns you a book for the summer or something like that, it is to get you to read, not have the substance of the book, but to read, because listening isn't going to help you with.
Reading is better, like more beneficial
It
for
triggers
you.
a diff-
I think reading like an actual book is more beneficial, and that's why elementary teachers are always trying to get you to like genuinely read early in life, because if you read to your child early in life, and if you are an early like reader, it is like genuinely like better for like your brain. And America's literacy is so bad. Like America, people cannot genuinely like read in America. America doesn't want to talk
You know
about
what
this.
irks me? Can I like go up on a little side tangent here, just like real quick? There are an alarming amount of people in some of my classes that just can't read cursive, can't even like attempt to write cursive. Again, can't read cursive.
Yeah. I literally had a friend who pretty much just couldn't read. Like, not gonna lie, like, and she just wasn't a reader. And I do think audiobooks and ebooks are a gateway to get people to read.
Definitely.
To get people to read in America.
Gateway drug to books.
A gateway drug to books because I do think it's making it more accessible to a lot of people who aren't readers. But I think that reading a physical book is very, very important, because listening to it can make you be like, oh, I will enjoy reading. This could be enjoyable for me. But we need people actually out there physically reading, because people cannot read genuinely in like our.
And I'm not like harping on people with like disabilities.
No.
Yeah,
obviously like
She's like, actually, I am.
even like people with dyslexia sometimes can't read cursive, and that's fine. I'm not trying to like. I'm going after.
That's a different situation.
That's an entirely different situation.
You're going after the people who are what society might call
who are very
quotes.
They are privileged. They have the opportunity to be educated, and they just choose
in the
not
Western
to.
world. Yes.
Yeah. And like it's actually disturbing to me, because I do think reading, like especially like physically reading, is kind of seen as like, for some reason in America we have this like stigma against like nerds, you know, and academia is kind of looked down on.
That doesn't happen other places in the world.
Like academia is looked down on, where physical prowess is like more beneficial in America, and so people don't want to be seen as people who read. And so like being seen with a book is like, oh, you must be so smart. And so I also think that's where like the superiority of reading comes from. That intimidates a lot of people, because they're like, oh, I can't read because I'm not smart, or I don't do that,
or I'm a football player,
or I'm a
baseball guy.
And it's like something also their parents promote. Like if your parent, like if you aren't like read to as a child, it's like proven to like impact you in a lot of different ways, especially educationally.
That explains a lot for me.
Well, not even like you. Like there's some people that genuinely, like, I remember, I don't want to call like names out, but I wrote a story for like a friend who just like was like chronically online. Like not even like you. I know, Karah, you're chronically online, but like she was like, that's like her whole life was just basically social media and everything she aspired to be. And not saying social media is bad. I really like social media, and it, like, obviously I spend a lot of time on there. But I would say like social media was more promoted by her family, if that makes sense. Like in a weird way, like also like an example by her parents. Like her mom was also very social media based, if that makes sense, in her life, and so she was kind of just copying her parents. But she was like never really read to, and so I wrote her a story, and like not her story, but like wrote a story and had her read it, and she just could not comprehend like what I wrote. Like she tried reading the story I wrote for 7th grade or like in 8th grade, and she just could not understand it. I'm like, what do you mean you can't understand? There's words on a page and it's like English. Like, how can you understand? And she just looked at it and was like, I don't get it. I'm like, that's just so strange. It's like, it was a story about a penguin. Like, what?
Maybe that's too deep for her.
Real.
I think that's actually where we differ, because for me, when I read a book, it's like for entertainment, and it's to like dissect the like symbolism and like the characterization and stuff like that. The reason I value media is because it tells a story. Yeah. And so I feel like it's
so the message.
Yeah. Because
and like the literary elements.
Yeah. And I think like you also watch like just like, I do think that's very different, because you watch a lot more like TV and stuff than I do as well, and I'm like not really into that. But I do like books because I think it makes me feel more accomplished than like if I like were to sit down and watch a TV show, which I do like enjoy like shows. There's a lot of shows I love, obviously, that I like, but like the feeling of finishing a book and like putting it on your shelf, I think gives me some sense of pride. And I think, but that can also be like where some people get their superiority complex from. And also it's like the escapism of reading, which not a lot of people, I think, especially like, is a learned skill, because I've been reading from a young age, that like the ability to like visualize, like to like be fully immersed in a book and like feel like I'm there is not something that everyone is able to do, like especially the first time they read, or like if you're not a reader for a long time, because like that one friend, she could not visualize things in her mind. Like I couldn't be like, think of.
Can we talk about how America doesn't have an imagination anymore? Like,
yeah,
you can't,
like that's also another. Well, that's another good thing about reading, is it helps you visualize things in your head.
No whimsy.
Yeah, like there's no whimsy. So that's another reason I like strongly promote reading, is because of this like ability of for escapism, which maybe that's not good. Like I can say the escapism is pretty bad. You know, like live in reality and stop running from your problems. And I think there's a bad side to everything, pretty much, but I do think like because we're not reading as much and we're just like only taking in digital media, that it like it gives us no room for creativity because all we are like, oh, well, they'll just come up with it, like the writers and directors, and we can just sit there and watch it. Where like in a book, yeah, they come up with it, but you have to think like half the time the characters are brunettes and then I learn they're blonde and I cry. So like, you know, I kind of come up with whatever I want them to look like and what the scenes look like in my mind. And some people who don't read like at all, like not even a person, like if you read like a book a year or like a book every 5 years, like, and you enjoy reading, like no shame to you, that's great. You don't have to be one of the people that reads like 50 books a year. But like if you're someone, like people who just don't read and can't read and don't have like literacy in that way, it deeply like impacts, I feel like, your just the way your mind works and your inability for creativity, because if you don't use it, you'll lose it, right? So if you're never being creative and you're never like reading, then you'll not be like, you'll just stop and you have to relearn how to be creative.
But you can be creative in different ways than reading too.
Yeah,
definitely.
A lot of people are, but also a lot of people who like aren't.
But maybe it's like reading is the most accessible because you don't, it doesn't require any
a skill. It's not like a big skill like art. I've always found reading a very beneficial thing, and I think honestly more people should read, like either ebooks or physically, whatever it is. Like whatever it takes, whatever is accessible. And I do think ebooks are good because they're making reading more accessible to a lot of people that like in a digital world, because America needs that. They need that ability for creativity and they need that literacy, because like it's genuinely alarming how many people can't read and how many people like can't like visualize things in their head or think. And if America's built on independency and individual thought and beliefs, if people can't even think for themselves, then who's really in charge? Like it's not democracy if you can't think for yourself.
Well, and I think I tried to make that obvious in my article, is that I'm not like saying don't read ebooks. You know, I'm saying, you know, in my opinion, this is why I think when you read, you should use a print book. But if you don't have access to a library, or you don't have the money to buy a physical book and you can only get an ebook, get an ebook. You know what I mean? If you want to read however you can.
Because I feel like the baseline is everyone should be reading. Like, and if ebooks are making reading more accessible, then that's obviously a good thing.
Because I think that's the difference, is like, for me, it's like the process of finding a book, trying to find a book that I want to read, and then also being able to find that in a library, and like so daunting to try and get into reading because of those things. And so the idea of getting an ebook seems like, oh, I could actually do that and find that fun.
And there's more options like on the ebook. Like you don't have to go to like,
and it's cheap.
Yeah,
I also like the accessibility settings on like ebooks and stuff, and I feel like that.
And reading while you're in bed too. I hear people be like, oh, you know, when you're reading in bed and like you're reading a physical book and you have to like like that, but if you're in an ebook,
I hold it like this. I my years of reading, I have the claw.
No,
down.
seriously, me too.
I got the claw down, but I think what was it? You said a point that I wanted to touch on, and then reading. At our age, like starting to read more, because that's why I think reading at a young age and building like that one confidence in reading, that desire to read. You know, like because people don't really think reading's fun, so they don't want to, or it's like a nerd thing, or just people aren't really good at it. But being read to at a young age is really valuable, because now at our age, it's like, let's say that one friend that couldn't like read my story, if she wanted to go find a book that was her level, she'd probably have to go to like a 3rd grade level reading book. Not gonna lie.
But it's,
and so it's embarrassing. Yeah, but you can build off of it, but it's more embarrassing for like people our age to have to start from lower, especially with literacy so low. Like you're like really good, and this is like about you, but that just reminded me that like it's harder for people who haven't grown up in an environment that promotes reading, you know, or they haven't been around reading, where they're bad at reading. And then at our age, it's harder to do that. And then they become adults who can't read at like their level. They read at like a 4th grade level. And then they're not going to promote that to their kids because they can't read much better than their own children. And then it creates a cycle. And so I think ebooks and just like making reading less of a pretentious thing can give it more accessibility to people and make them more confident in starting wherever they want.
Break the illiteracy cycle 2024.
Heck yeah.
And it goes into sort of like getting rid of that stigma.
Yeah. So like if you're like reading in any form, I feel like it's just really good.
Yeah.
It's good. If you're reading in any form, that is what you need to be doing, and you shouldn't be stressing about like what you're reading or how people perceive you.
Like what?
Because
medium.
if you're reading, you're better than like most of America. So.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, like, for me, the reason I don't read, like, I read a ton as a kid. Like, I was obsessed with reading, and I always was reading like 24/7. I'm not kidding you. But for some reason, like when you get older, like, and I feel like a lot of people relate to this where they would read a lot when they were younger. But like when I got older, like I had like homework and I was like, okay, I don't really have time to read because reading like takes up energy and time. And like for me, I don't have infinite amount of energy and time. So it's like,
Yeah. I think,
Well, I mean, I was the same way. I used to read so much, you know, and now I recently found out I needed glasses, and that was part of the reason I stopped reading. Was it hurt to read physically, but what I struggle with is finding something I like.
that's also a problem I have.
And this could go into like kind of getting it back to a very light-hearted topic. What are your guys' like favorite genres, or even just like a favorite title?
I genuinely read everything. Like the problem with finding something for me isn't that hard, because I kind of just walk into a bookstore and I just like, enjoy the experience of like a bookstore, especially just going in and just like grabbing books and like looking at them and being, oh, that's a pretty cover in the cart, in the bag. Because like I know that, yes, sometimes a book sucks, but I'm pretty much able to finish any book, and I also don't really care most of the time like with the substance for like trigger warnings and stuff. Like that's just not something I look for personally in books, because like I don't really care. Like obviously read whatever you want. Like I get there's freaky stuff in there, and maybe I should sometimes, because sometimes I'm reading, I'm like, okay, that was weird. Like there was a book I did for a book project that literally like had cannibalism in it, and I was like, maybe Miss McCann doesn't want to read about this. My bad. But yeah, 'cause they ate each other. It was weird. But you know, like, so maybe I'm too loosey-goosey sometimes with the books I grab, because I really just go on vibes. It's really vibes-based. I walk in and I feel the vibes of the books, and I'm like, are you a pretty book? And I'm like, oh.
See, maybe this is a tangent, but I feel like one of the reasons I don't read is because to me, like, if it's not something I have to do, I don't like to do it, because like, and I think this is like an ADHD thing more so, because I procrastinate reading. Like I'll have a book that I like, it doesn't matter if I want to do a task. Like if I want to like organize my closet or something and I'm excited to do it, and then I put it in I'm like, oh, I don't have time to do it, so I'll do it later. The second I put it off, I immediately dread doing it. And so it's like, I feel like that's one of the problems is like when you're reading all the time, it's great. But like once you stop reading, for me, it's so hard to get back into it.
Yeah.
No, I go through cycles, like I'll read for like hours at a time, and then for the next week I just won't read at all.
I get all of this because I think that one of the problems like with reading too is the sitting, like the time, because it is more energy and it is like harder to do, especially mentally. Like sometimes you read a book and you feel it in your brain. You're like, oh my gosh, that was so much. But then you can be like on TikTok and it's like nothing. So I also feel like people will choose the easier thing over reading. Like same, like, dude, if you look at my reading stats, I read 7 books over the summer, and then school happened for one. So I'm tired all the time because I'm like working and I have to do homework and I have to do all this. And then like, and then I don't have time to read, and I have a book just sitting there, and I'm like, I'm sorry, Pook, but like it's social media is so much more easier, or like a YouTube video. And also that like, I feel like I also read when I was younger. I've been wanting to get back more like into it, but like little kids, you don't have phones, and it's like literally your downtime, because it's either that or it's like play outside or something. And it's like little kids, it's like, I don't know, it's just like more common, I think, in our social circles to like not read, or it's not like something like there's like social media pretty much. I think, not saying social media is bad, but it's just easier to be on your phone than it is to read. And so I feel like even I do that. Like I'm not gonna go home and read tonight. I'm gonna go home and be on my phone even after talking about all this. And so it's like, and I do think it's like you said, like if you're not like reading, okay, wait.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, if you're not,
wrong.
I have so much to yab about.
We all have to go.
Okay, we have to go.
All right, outro.
Outro. Who wants to do outro?
All right. Thank you so much, Bengals, for listening to our yapping session.
Heck yeah.